We haven't stepped back in time, reality. We're at the Balladonia Roadhouse, and the free attraction at the Roadhouse is this museum. It's been opened for over 10 years, and it traces some of the history of the early settlers, right from the Afghan camels that came through in the late 1840s probably, through to the present day. So you can see the ubiquitous Jones, not a singer, but a Jones. I thought people would immediately say a singer sewing machine, but no, it's a Jones. It's not a singer. So that's on display here. Very, very unique. I challenge anyone to have seen a Jones sewing machine before. The fire that fueled 100,000 hunger pangs for people. Of course, the usual utensil, canisters at the top there, the kerosene-powered lamps, the wood box, and of course the kitchen hutch with the cups and plates and everything in it. No Diamond Point cranberry in there. Sorry about that, Laura. The meat safe. Local people at the tavern. Balladonia, please enjoy your stay. History of it, and look here. Croc of the circus elephant at Balladonia. And yes, I can fully understand that, having travelled across Nullarbor with March Amusements on our way to the Perth show. So of course the circus had come across too, that way. Reminds me a little bit of Burt Munro here taking his Indian across to the Salt Flats. And don't forget, I keep telling you, if you want to see what it's like to be inside a vehicle at high speed on the Bonneville Salt Flats, look back to my YouTube from 2024 when we did a speed run there on the Bonneville Salt Flats. But that's very reminiscent. If you haven't seen the world's fastest Indian, you won't know what that photo means, but if you have, well, you'll know what I'm talking about. Circus children visiting. First car and hoist at the old Balladonia garage that was never finished. And then of course the camel. Afghans brought the camels across. And here we have a stunning example of a camel and the Afghan with them. Now, if you ever get the opportunity, like I have, to go for a ride on a camel, don't walk, trot. They're much, much more comfortable when you trot. Whether it be a local show somewhere in Australia when the camels come around, Cable Beach or Port Macquarie, or whether you in fact might go across to Egypt and go for a ride in the desert. And of course we all know about roadkill. So there's plenty of roadkill around here. Early dog traps and rabbit traps. Lantern. Early sign there telling you. Vacuum service. Taken over by Mobile, which has made big recovery back in Australia. Sign says Perth one way, Adelaide the other way. The Warrego. Now what do we have here? We have a wool press. Warrego is a river in Australia, and this was sold by Dalgety and Company, and Dalgety and Company is still around to this day. Dalgety Shoot Bell and different ones, the wool in there to be pressed. And this top piece comes over it. Red X Trial used to go around Australia, and our mates crashed the window or the door there of this Vauxhall, 6-cylinder Vauxhall, and it was a common feature. Gelignite Jack Murray. Why was he called that? Because he used to throw sticks of gelignite out the car. So Red X Rally, written up to be the world's toughest rally. A little bit. There was London Sydney Marathon was pretty tough too, but this was around Australia. So of course it had to go across the Nullarbor that we're doing at the moment. Now we know that in 53, 54 and 55, so 72, 71 and 70 years ago, it went across Australia and around Australia. So you can see here it follows pretty much what the Team Triumphs boys are doing. Up the east coast, about Cairns out the three ways, up to Darwin via Katherine, and follow around the Western Australian coast down to Perth, and then we actually went down the Margaret River and Esperance, back up to Norseman and across into South Australia. We're going to actually go put the bikes and go across the Spencer Gulf here and down into Victoria, Mount Gambier, call in see Motorbike Museum. We're going to go across here too, Portsea, Sorrento, and then up and follow the Cairn River Highway right back to, I drop off in North Coast New South Wales, the other two drop off on the Gold Coast. 1926-27, a Harley Davidson, Perth to Sydney Overland Tour, was reenacted in 1990, but we're doing it on Triumphs, and it was a lot easier. You can see here, no bitumen roads, changing flat tyre. Luckily we haven't had any flat tyres. Rest up time, getting the bike out of a bog, lots of things to set records on Harley Davidsons. Now, coming back to much more modern times, Skylab was launched in 1973 from Kennedy Space Centre, Cape Canaveral, as it's gone back to its name now, to go around the world. But as well as doing lots of things, it was put in a stable orbit, and it was thought it remained there for 8 to 10 years. However, was no longer stable, and it was decided it was a rogue spacecraft, and amidst controversy, it commenced return to Earth. Do you want to know what it looks like when it returned to Earth? United States Skylab. Look at that. Crashed around here. When it came in, you can see the metal. Shield, domes, and it made a pass over Western Australia. In fact, it was 12:38 on July 12th, 1979 when it returned. The largest piece fell in the Indian Ocean, splat. But the rest of us scattered from Balladonia, just where we are now, up to the Trans-Australian Railway. So there we are at Balladonia, and that was the path, and that's where the last parts ended up. Phone call from Jimmy Carter actually rang to extend his apologies for the Skylab crashing into Australian outback and offering any assistance. Quite out of the blue, Miss America. Whoops, we probably don't say that, but why? Why not? She's not married. Miss America at the time was in Perth for the finals at the Miss Universe competition. She came out here to Balladonia with American photographer, and look at the lovely photo they got. And NASA wanted their things back, so they posted a $10,000 reward US for the first piece of Skylab to return to America. So that was a real treasure hunt, same as the early gold mining. And Stanley Thompson from Esperance, where we stayed the other night, Esperance went on a treasure hunt. And he found a piece, and he took it to San Francisco for examination, claimed the reward. And Balladonia, where we are now, Balladonian Roadhouse, and where we came from today, Esperance, were international celebrities. So that's what happened. There's pictures of it, newspaper report, finding it. But there's that piece. So the world's eyes focused on Balladonia. So we're staying a night here at Balladonia, And that's why I'm bringing you some of the history of Balladonia. Because Skylab crashed here. Now that's a huge piece there that they found. So there's lots of things about it that you can see in this museum at the Balladonia Roadhouse, which is free. Also, if you want to look at reptiles, fauna, and luckily there's been no fauna running out the road in front of us, flora, or the plants. And there's all sorts of things here. Now we stopped today at salmon gum, and here is a piece of salmon gum. Gimlet, redwood, not the redwood at the California forest, Kongdong, Western Mallee, the black one, and sandalwood. So they're the timbers you find here, but salmon gum is not real well known. That's why we stopped off today at the Salmon Gum Roadhouse. Salmon Gum is a town. The early Aboriginal people of the area the Afghans that came after them and their camels. And Australia at the moment has the largest herd of purebred camels, in other words, not inbred camels. And it's interesting that the very first camels were used on Balladonia Station in 1894. Now, what happened was that they arrived by sea. No one knew if the camels could swim or not, so they just pushed one over, rolled on its side and upright, and came in off the coast, so the camels could swim. And that's why they've got them here. Sandalwood, Pondon, examples of the seeds there. Surrounding towns, surrounding stations, the local geology here. We know it's great for mining. So we can see there, Nullarbor block. So it's very rich in minerals. You can find out about all those minerals here, as well as the surface rocks here. Now, yes, Australia's a big continent, big island, and the smallest continent. And Team Triumph is riding right around pretty much the coastline. We're missing out in Tasmania. That's a little part in the bottom right-hand side there. But nevertheless, if you haven't already been watching our videos, then please do so and learn what some of this countryside is like. But if you're in Balladonia, in Western Australia, call into the Balladonia Roadhouse. You can stay here. There's plenty of accommodation here. I advise you to ring them. I don't think you can book on booking.com, but ring them and book yourself in. Why not stay the day, or certainly do like we did. We got in about 1 o'clock, and that's given us plenty of time to look around what's here. There's even the swimming pool. Too cold for that at the moment, but what we need now is the fire or the air conditioning on heat. So I think we'll leave it at that point. Hit the like button, the thumbs up button, keep yourself warm, and tell us what you know about early history of your country in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to the series Around Australia Ride Team Triumph, and get to meet us and learn some history of Australia.